Hey, what's up guys, it's Elite here, and we're going to be doing a breakdown of the DLC 3 Descent trailer that we've recently gotten. So the trailer that we've gotten was the trailer for the GOROD KROVI new zombie map that has just been revealed, and it looks really cool. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be breaking down the trailer, really dissecting it, gathering information, and also seeing if we can reveal any hidden Easter eggs or any kind of hidden knowledge or information that this trailer will has revealed to us. So I'm going to be going into it and just pointing things out. So I'm going to mention few things that I've caught during my mini replays of this trailer, and also giving you guys some of my opinions that I've seen during the trailer and what I feel like what's going to happen in the game or in the map itself. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I've actually noticed was this truck right here. This truck resembles a lot of the Shadows of Evil truck. We're in Shadows of Evil. It had a truck, and then it had a crate in the truck bed that held the summoning key or the summoning stone. It resembles a lot. Obviously, the truck model is a little different, so is the crate, but that's just something I've seen that looks like they might have the summoning stone or summoning key in here as well, because obviously we go from dimension to dimension, so there may be another version that we might be acquiring. But that's just something I wanted to point out and mention. Moving on to the next, we actually might see some backstory to the GOROD KROVI map, because obviously we've had each of the DLCs going off and telling the story and going through each of the dimensions. We've been dealing with the 1.0 versions of our characters. We've already killed Richtofen and the Giant, and the Rising how we did Dempsey, and then in Zetsubo no Shima we killed Takio. In this one, you can clearly tell it's for Nikolai, our Russian character, because if you see right here on the bus, it actually says Belinsky Square. So maybe in this universe or dimension, Nikolai Belinsky may have a huge impact or huge influence in the Russian, area that they name a part or square after him, or his family, maybe acknowledging his accomplishments or his influence. But that's just something I want to point out. That they named a square after Nikolai Belinsky. Now this area right here, you can see this big computer or eye, whatever you want to call it. To me, this resembles something that we're going to be using a lot during the GOROD KROVI Easter egg, because usually anything that looks big and menacing is probably something important to do with the map itself. And also what hints towards this being an important part as well is that we're actually missing a part on the bottom right hand side. So if you look at the left hand side, you actually see a coil that's in there that's activated, and then on the right hand side we're actually missing something. So that's why I feel like this thing is going to be important in the map or later on in the map. That was brought to my attention. And this one is also the power room as well. You can see to the left hand side that there's a power right there. All you have to do is just access this room to turn on the power, which is pretty cool. Or you actually might even need to turn on this computer and get the other part to activate the power and keep it fully powered, like Zetsubo no Shima did, where you had to do the buckets. So that might be an interesting thing that you have to do. And also another thing I want to point out is that on the right-hand side, this big giant screen on the right-hand side, it looks like it might be the GOROD KROVI map layout. It looks like a layout of a map, but I'm not sure if that's for this map that we're going to be playing on, coming up soon. And then also to the left-hand side, we're actually going to see a blueprint or layout of these pods that are going to be coming in the trailer, which I'll be pointing out later on when we go into it. But that's just two things that caught my eyes, is just the monitors on the screen, giving us blueprints and layouts of either the map or some of the items or some of the things that might be in the game, which is pretty cool. Now this scene right here where you see Nikolai looking onto his courtyard, it's I love the artwork of Treyarch, and I love what they do to their maps. It looks so super chaotic. There's debris, stuff everywhere. You can see a downed aircraft to the right hand side, probably due to the dragons, bringing it down. You can also see a part of a dead dragon to the left hand side. But what I really want to point out during this scene is if you look to the left hand side where I'm actually zooming in now, it actually looks like there's a staff on the building. It looks like the staff from Origins, but I don't know why there would be a staff from Origins up there and why it's so oddly placed on the building. And also if you compare it to the letters on the building itself, it looks like a relatively large object that our characters will not be able to wield. So I'm kind of thinking that this is just there for show, or this might be something that we're going to be using to maybe shoot down a dragon and kill it. I don't know. It's just an idea that I had in my head that this might be a staff that we can actually use to attack or assault the dragons, because we do see a dead dragon on the left hand side, and then maybe this staff that I see up there may have caused that. I don't know, but that's just something I want to point out, is that it looks like there's this staff that's up on the building, and I don't know what kind of role it's going to be. It might not even be a staff, just maybe an antenna or there for show, but that's just something that caught my eye and I want to bring attention to mention. So let's get on to the rest. So now here's another part that I've seen where it's a scene of Nikolai and Richtofen actually running in front of these steps, and this also just brought another idea and thought into my head, is that you see the statue of the lion, and if you if you guys play zombies a lot, you know that on the Gobblegum there's actually a head of a lion on top of the Gobblegum machine. But not only that, there was also an Easter egg in Shadows of Evil, where there was this room with 4 lions' heads in there, and if you did something with the Widow's Wine grenades, you can get a free Gobblegum and upgrade to a Mega Gobblegum, which is pretty cool. So maybe there's some kind of Gobblegum Easter egg in this with the lions again, but that's just something I've seen, that the lions are there that look really cool, but they also could possibly be a Easter egg for the Gobblegums or something. But that's just something I've seen, that we're possibly going to get like another lion Easter egg again. But that's just my thoughts and opinions on that. So now this thing is actually quite interesting. Now I've seen this and I really didn't pay any attention to it the first few times I've looked over this trailer, but the more I look at it, the more interesting it seems. Now these aren't normal barricades that we usually do when we rebuild barriers. These actually look like steel beams that could possibly be a trap. We've never really seen a trap that held off an area before, so there might be a spawn trap where you can actually put out these steel beams to stop zombies from spawning in certain areas and kind of funnel zombies towards one area where you can just constantly mow them down, which would be kind of a cool thing. We've never seen that before. But I just wanted to bring attention that these look like some kind of a trap, or maybe this might be a new way to rebuild barriers on Windows. But that's just something cool I've seen. I don't know if it's gonna be a trap like I said before, or it's just a new way to rebuild barriers. But it looks cool. It's interesting. I definitely want to know more about that to see if it's a trap or not, because we've never seen a trap that rebuilds barriers like that. So that would be kind of cool to see, like a steel beam trap that just blocks off areas where you can just funnel zombies to one location, just constantly mow them down. Now this little scene kind of brings another thought to my head, where you see this like gnarly zombie where he's been obviously burnt. He's kind of crispy. You can see like the plastic or whatever his face was is melted to his skin. But you can also see the dragon on the left hand side just flying around. I feel like he's gonna be like the Origin robots, where they're just gonna be going around the map, just being a nuisance, either hurting you or the zombies. But they're gonna be quite active throughout the map, which is kind of cool. I would like to see how that plays out. But there's also other hints in the map that shows that they're gonna be like the Origins robots, where they're just gonna be going out throughout the map, and it's causing being a nuisance for us. Now this part right here is probably the coolest thing that I've seen in the trailer so far. The reason why I say it's the coolest is because if you guys see the gun that is being fired right now at these zombies, it's actually a mounted machine gun, and we've never seen a mounted machine gun in a while. I think the last time we've seen it was actually in Varuk back in World at War. It's kind of cool that they're bringing it back, but also in this scene right here, we actually get a good look at our new boss zombies. These new Panzer, or these new boss zombies, are actually a Russian versions of the Panzer Soldat, or whatever their name is. You can actually see the red star on their head representing that they're Russians. And these look like these are like really bulky Juggernaut or Panzer zombies that look super menacing and scary. And also on the left hand side, it has a claw, so it's probably gonna do some like hardcore melee damage if it gets up close to you. And then also on the right hand side, it has this mech arm. We're actually gonna be seeing a melee or the mech ability later on in the trailer. But not only that, you can also see three of these Russian Panzer Soldats, in this image. So we're probably gonna be versing a lot of these guys. These guys look super menacing and scary, and I can't wait to verse these guys to see how tough they are. But this next image right here also brings gives me more proof that the dragons are just gonna be there, roaming around the map, being a nuisance. Because during this image, you can actually see the dragon fly over, but you can't see the dragon fly over, but you can see the flames being shot down at the zombies, burning them up. But also on the back left-hand side, you can actually see the quick revive machine. So the area where Nikolai was looking out in the courtyard, where the fountain was, I think that's gonna be a spawning point, because usually wherever the quick revive machine is, usually is a general area where our spawn point will be. So I think our spawn point is gonna be in the middle of the map in the courtyard area, which kind of gives us a good idea where we're gonna be starting off at, which is cool. But then also just seeing the zombies being burnt alive by the dragons is also pretty crazy. Now this little image right here was actually quite amazing. As you can see, that there's a big giant robot, mech robot, laying down these buildings. It seems like it's been taken down. And when I seen this robot, I thought immediately about the Origins robot, the giant robot, the Dreisendrache robot. But this is actually very different. This is not a Group 935 or a German robot. This is actually a Russian robot. As you can see on the chest of the robot, there's actually a star on there representing the Russian star. But not only that, if you see on the head, there's actually another red star on there representing that it's a Russian robot, which is pretty crazy that the Russians actually have the 1,000-foot robot on their side as well. So it's kind of cool to see that the Russians have control of Element 115, as well as Group 935, clashing in this little battlefield. And you can also see a dead dragon on the left side, which is pretty cool. But it's just cool to see that the Russians also have this Element 115 kind of weaponry and technology that Group 935 does, and you can see it clash on this map. Now this little scene where our character is actually running, you can actually see that they're still wearing the blood vials. If you guys pay attention to the storyline, back in the Giant, when Richtofen killed himself, he had a blood vial on him, and then in the Zetsuba no Shima Easter egg, our other 3 characters also acquired blood vials. I don't know what the whole meaning behind that is, but these characters have acquired blood vials, and I think there's some kind of mention that during this this map, or this the storyline, or the Easter egg of this, we're actually gonna have some kind of reveal of what the blood vials will actually mean and do, which is pretty crazy. So another thing I wanted to talk about are these electrical skeletal zombies. These guys look absolutely ridiculous. These guys look really, really cool. Obviously these guys have been, like, you know, charred up by the flames of the dragon. You can see that they're, you know, black and they've been charred, but that they've also have, like, flesh burned off of them. But what really, you know, what really has my attention is the electricity around these guys. I don't know if these guys are gonna be the special zombies that we're gonna get at, like, round 5 or 7. You know, what we usually get, you know, with, like, dogs. I don't know if these guys are gonna be the replacement, but they do look really cool, and I would like to see how these guys play out. My assumption, or my you know, theory, is that these guys are gonna be like EMP zombies, where if they hit you, they're gonna take away your abilities for a brief moment, which might be really annoying, but kind of cool at the same time, just to give it a little challenging. But that's what I seen, and that's what my thoughts on that are. But that just looks absolutely cool, seeing those electrical zombies. Now here's the image of the dragon. The dragon looks super cool, but also we can see that the dragon flies around, kind of, you know, just breathes fire throughout on the zombies. You know, kind of just bringing more of a reassurance that these guys are just going to be around the map, you know, just wreaking havoc, and, you know, just being a nuisance to the players and also to the zombies as well, you know, just breathing down fire, which looks really cool. I'm glad they actually add these guys in there, because it looks ridiculous, and also adds more of a challenge to the map as well. And also you can see the crazy head that it has. Man, the dragons look absolutely ridiculous. Now this part right here, you can actually see the Russian panzers actually use their right arm, their right mech arm, to release some kind of, like, electrical blast, which looks ridiculous. I feel like if you guys get close to these guys, they're just going to completely obliterate you. But it's kind of cool to see them in action and see some of the abilities they have. But these guys look scary, man. They really do. And then here's another image of the dragon flying around. Now these robots that you see are actually Group 935 robots, meaning they're the German robots. So it's kind of cool to see, you know, the collision between Russian 115 technology and Group 935 technology versing each other, and kind of being in this map. Also, if you see on the middle or top hand side of the screen, you could actually see the mystery box, the blue light beam, and you could also see a green beam, which I actually kind of see later on in the trailer, which I'll be pointing out. But just remember that green beam. But let's talk about the robots. The robots look really cool. I feel like these guys are going to be like the flies that we've seen in Shadows of Evil. Obviously, there's not going to be as many as the flies in Shadows of Evil, because these guys look like they're going to take a lot more bullets to take down. But I feel like they're going to be like, you know, the special zombies as well, where they're going to come in at certain rounds. But they look really cool. You can see that the two on the right, or the one in the middle and the one on the right, are heavily guarded. But it seems like every time you shoot them, you'll take away their armor, because on the one on the left looks like it's pretty hurt. Some of the armor pieces are missing, so it seems like you're just going to have to rip away their armor until you can just, you know, explode them, or, you know, blow them up, which is pretty cool to see that in action. So the next thing you see is a new zombie shield. Now this zombie shield is actually a dragon shield, that you can see that it engulfs the zombies in green flame, which it looks absolutely ridiculous. I love what Treyarch does with their art style. The whole zombie shield with the dragon, you know, theme to it is just absolutely ridiculous, and the fact that it shoots out this green flame is just really cool as well. It just ignites the zombies in green flame. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I think it's just so cool looking at it. Can't wait to use it and build it. Another thing is, you can also see that you are able to use this mech arm. It's kind of like a buildable mech arm that you can use. As we've seen before, as like in the Eisendrache, we had, you know, the Ragnarok DG4. And then also in Shadows of Evil, we had the swords. It's gonna be like that. It's gonna be a item you can use. You know, once you kill zombies and you build it, you can use it to, like, take loads of zombies out and, you know, kind of recharge and, you know, use again. That's kind of cool that we are gonna have like a mech arm to just blast through the zombies. I don't know if it has any kind of other abilities on this mech arm, but you can see right here that you can just blast through a group of zombies, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And then also the new DLC weapons are going to be added to the game as well, because you can see the NX shadows being used. These NX shadows seems like they ignite and cause explosive damage. And then also in this scene right here, you can see the pods coming down, which I was talking about in the power room area. You can see the blueprint of that. Well, during this scene where the pods is coming down, you can actually see a dead dragon over to the right hand side, and you can also see the pod coming down, which is pretty crazy. But I just want to point out the dead dragon in here. But when the pod lands, this kind of gave me enough idea, like it might be a soul box, or it could be whenever these pods come down, it could be an objective round. Because if you guys ever played Moon, there's actually certain rounds where you had to deactivate the excavators. If you did not deactivate the excavators, you actually were cut off from certain areas of the map until you deactivated them to acquire or be able to access these areas of the map again. So if you do not, I don't know, I feel like these pods are gonna be like an objective thing where if you don't do it, you're gonna have to like suffer some kind of consequence or something, or they might be something to do with an Easter egg or maybe some kind of power up. I don't know. But another thing that you see in this image right here is actually the new ray gun Mark III is being used as well. You can see you can see Dempsey over to the left, dual wielding 2 ray guns, which is pretty cool. We actually see the ray guns in action, and then also the pod electrocuting the zombies, which is pretty cool. Now here is the box. So one of my biggest things, I know I just said the ray gun Mark III, but what happens if what we're gonna see are not actually the ray gun Mark III, but it's actually the Russian versions of the ray guns? Because obviously we had the ray gun, and then the ray gun Mark II is red with the green in the barrel. And as also as I mentioned before in this map, is that you also see a clash of the group 935 technology of 115 and then the Russian version of 115 technology. What happens if we're not actually going to see a ray gun Mark III, but we're actually going to see a Russian version of the ray gun that might be called completely different, maybe have some kind of different feature to it? But that's just something that came to my head, is that what happens if these are not the ray gun Mark IIIs that we're expecting, but some kind of alternate version of the original ray gun, but just like the Russian version that they built for themselves. And then also you can see in the box as well that the FFAR, the FAMAS, is also in there, which is pretty cool that they add the DLC weapons. And then also the PPSH is also in here as well, which I can't wait to get a hold of that gun, because that was probably one of my favorite guns to use in World at War, and also in zombies in general. It's just super fun to use. But yeah, what I was saying with the ray gun is I think that it's not going to be the Mark III. It's just going to be an alternate version of the original ray gun, but just the Russian or Russian element 115 twist to it that we're going to be seeing. Because obviously we've seen with the robot that they have the Russian robot and then also Russian Panzer. So why can't they have a Russian ray gun as well? But that'd be cool to see how that plays out and see how that works. Now this little scene right here is really, really cool. As you can see, is that our 4 characters are actually riding this dragon on top of the dragon. I don't know how they got on top of that, but it's just kind of cool to see that you can actually use this dragon as some kind of transportation to go around the map, or maybe even fly away. Like in Mob of the Dead, you can get on the plane to fly away to, and maybe the Pack-a-Punch area. But that's kind of cool to see that you can actually ride the dragon and maybe go to a different location, which is really cool. Just watching this part just really gets me hyped up to play this map. Just being able to ride a dragon just would be completely awesome. But that's it, guys. That's all that I've seen from the trailer. That's all I was able to gather. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my breakdown. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know it was quite a lengthy one, but I really wanted to get into details with this and point out what I've seen and what I've caught. But hopefully you guys enjoyed once again. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure you guys stay tuned for more of my kind of breakdown and maybe some thoughts on GOROD KROVI, because I'm definitely gonna be making more videos on this. So, but once again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.